Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to...
Not so fast. I'm going to give you a little piece of trash. Just a little stunner. Yeah, I got that piece of trash out of here. Hello, everyone. This is O.W.P. Steve Osted coming at you live from the studio. What? Cuz isn't here. What? He's probably out somewhere bitching and moaning. What? Or maybe he's just tired of the way Jess pronounces the word one. Jess doesn't know if it's W-O-N or W-A-N. One. When Hogan won the title. When Hogan won WrestleMania 3 against Andre. What? Maybe he's getting tired of the little ginger snapper yawning in the microphone every 5 seconds. Falling asleep near the goddamn end of it. What? All Stone Cold Steve Austin knows is that you will never, ever hear Stone Cold's name mentioned in the topic today. It doesn't matter if it's in the O.W.P. podcast or any other wrestling podcast out there. You will never hear Stone Cold Steve Austin's name mentioned in the topic of Worst Wrestlers Part 1. Our wrestling podcast, episode 20, Worst Wrestlers. Now send this piece of trash on out.
Welcome to the O.W.P. This is our wrestling podcast. This is Dave along with Jess.
Hello, everybody.
And Cuz? No fucking Cuz this week, because fuck that guy. You know, little punk, take some time. Bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. And now on to our topic today, Worst Wrestlers, Volume 1. As always, you can reach us via Instagram at O.W.P.19, SoundCloud at Our Wrestling Podcast, YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel, or do the easy thing, download WrestlePost. It's an app at no charge to you, and join us along with other great podcasts of the day. You know, Jess, you brought this up to me in the middle of the week, and God, well, for one thing, what an easy topic, because there will be numerous volumes of bad wrestlers, right? We're not talking...
Be part one of probably 100 because, we don't have Cuz this week. This is one of Cuz's off weeks, but usually we do a dark episode, but we decided to do an actual topic this week because this is pretty basic and pretty straightforward.
And you know what, Jess? Fuck dark episodes, right? Just fuck Cuz's
Hey,
dark
I always
episodes.
bash on him. And he did. I heard it's funny when we don't record together, he edits shit and then he puts messages at the end of the thing. He does his own little private message. And the last time he called me out, he's like, "Oh, Jess, I know you like to bash dark episodes, but some of our regular topic episodes have less hits than our dark episodes." That's fine.
And
whatever.
facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, I got a few words for that. Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Whatever. He's such a little Cuz. He's so cute, so ridiculous. So this one, the main difference is, when we do overrated or overhyped and failed, or now this one, worst wrestlers, it's easy to kind of confuse and kind of combine the three, but I want to set them apart from each other really quick. Overhyped and failed, I mean, some of them happen to be bad wrestlers, but really the topic and the point of overhyped and failed gimmicks is it could be a really talented wrestler, like Terry Taylor, the Red Rooster. Terry Taylor's talented. He's a good worker in there. He always was. But
how about Steve Regal? We talked about last week.
Yeah, Steve Regal, right? And exactly. Well, Steve Regal of all is a great worker. But yeah, you just
a bad gimmick.
Yeah, you can get nailed with a bad gimmick or whatever, or you could be a terrible wrestler and get a bad gimmick. I mean, that's possible too. But the overhyped and failed gimmicks are just that. They were hyped up to be something, and then they ended up failing, despite the hype, so it was just a bad gimmick all the way around. Overrated wrestlers are wrestlers that achieve stuff, that actually were part of your vocabulary when you were growing up or when wrestling was hot. Oh yeah, you remember Luger? You remember this person? Yeah, I do, but they weren't really as good as everyone kind of remembers them as. They're kind of overrated. That's the difference. That this one is these people are just bad in the ring. They're not bad people. We don't know these people. And most articles we probably can read on some of these people, they're actually probably fine, upstanding citizens. But the worst list that we're talking about, these are bad professional wrestlers that just couldn't get timing, couldn't get the rhythm, botched a lot, things like that. These are just truly poor wrestlers. And no matter what gimmick they were given, it didn't matter. It wasn't one particular overhyped or failed gimmick. They were bad wrestlers. They all failed for the most part. That's my basic, definition of this
and
topic.
we'll definitely have some overlap. We even have some overlap today. So, it can bleed into the overhyped and failed gimmicks, especially if they are bad. That's part of why it may have been overhyped. So there will be some in there, and there will be some like no matter how you slice it, it was just bad, right? Anything else you want to say just before we get started?
No, I'm good. Let's just start the shit.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, the first person we got to talk about is definitely an overlap. I feel bad about this guy because we all know what happened in the end, but we talked about him last week. We're talking about the Renegade.
Oh my
We're
God!
talking about
Again?
Richard Wilson. I know, bro. I know it's.
We
tough,
talked
man.
about him last week on the overhyped and failed gimmicks part 3. And he fits both categories. This actually is perfect for what I was saying before. Is like, he got, he was overhyped and his gimmick was bad and it failed, but he was a bad wrestler on top of it. And he was a nice guy. What anyone's written about him is he was a really nice guy. He never got a fair start from the beginning. I mean, we talked about him last week, but he just never got a fair shake. He was thrown into this generic copy of what they wanted the Ultimate Warrior to be for WCW, which are big shoes to fill anyway. So of course you're going to get fan backlash from that. And then on top of that, you're green as grass. And you're green with promos, you're green with like wrestling. And like they tried everything with this guy. Like they put him in there against Arn Anderson, who he like won the television championship from. They put him in there with guys against Paul Roma and anyone you can think of. They tried to just a good wrestler try to carry this guy, and it was a botch fest. Like go back particularly and watch Bash at the Beach 1995. Paul Orndorff against Renegade for the TV championship. Renegade was just awful, and you could see Paul Orndorff getting more and more. I think I even mentioned this last week. He just getting more and more pissed off and frustrated, and like at the end of the match, he ended up pile driving Renegade, and you could tell it wasn't planned. He just grabbed him and pile drove him, and the place went nuts. And like poor Renegade, just an awful wrestler. He really was.
Well, I think about it now, Jess, and you would see somebody like this today, with all the, you can't even call it territories. You call it farm talent, you call it NXT, whatever you want to call it. This would never happen now. Right. I mean, they would see someone like this, maybe have a great look. He wasn't a bad looking guy. He's built at 255 pounds and 5'10". So, he was built. He's a big dude, and if someone had just spent some time and not rushed him, like you said, well, he's the closest thing to the Warrior. So let's bring him up since we couldn't get the Warrior.
Or some fucking idiot with a do-rag and a mustache didn't be like, let's dress him up like someone that I never got to beat. Like, come on. You kind of fucked him up, like when it comes to that.
Yeah,
like we said in the last episode, he never stood a chance, and his promos were just as bad. Here's an example.
Sure.
Your thoughts on this big title opportunity? On the other side, get ready to feel the power. I'm gonna plant you in the center of the ring, and I'm gonna down from the heavens, and then you will know what intensity is all about. Renegade, a shot at world television champ Arn Anderson at the Great American Bash, June the 18th in Dayton, Ohio. Stay tuned for more Saturday night.
They always say, like, keep things short and sweet.
Like,
you cover up your guys' weaknesses. Even Gene Okerlund gave him, like, not even 10 seconds to speak, and he wrapped it up quick, and it was still fucking brutal. Like, it was still just that short interview.
He was too fast. He flubbed his words.
He didn't know what he was doing.
He didn't talk into the mic.
What is a renegade? He didn't even know what he was doing. Like, and that's just a small portion of it. Like I said, at that year's Great American Bash in 1995, he fucking faced then television champion Arn Anderson for the World Television Championship. And of course, because Hulk was in the company and anything Flair and Anderson or that reflected the old WCW, Hulk and Bischoff had to shit on because, that method of wrestling didn't work back in the day. WCW has always been painfully number 2, distant sometimes at that. Let's just put all of our fucking hokey Hulk and Bischoff ideas over the top.
Well, let me just say two things to that, Jess. One is Arn Anderson is not the reason why WCW was failing. That's number one. He's probably one of the reasons why people continue to watch because he's Arn Anderson. And then two, I mean, it just shows how much of a company dude Arn Anderson is. Yeah, I'll drop it to this kid. You're trying to push him, right? I'll do that. Whatever you need. That's just Arn Anderson. That's why you gotta. That's why when Vince fires Arn Anderson, we're all pissed. Like, what does Arn have to do for you to fire him? Like.
And this was back here in 1995.
Like, Jesus Christ.
This was back in 1995. I was like 18 years old. And I remember, when you're that young, unfortunately, you focus your rage more. I disliked the Renegade. Like it was his fault. Like you wouldn't take the paycheck if you got, what do you think they gave this guy? Like, 150 a year? Like that's fucking good money. I swear to God, I probably said this in last week's episode. I feel like, because I feel deja vu, like, so why would you not take it? But at the same time, like, oh my God, like they just like, how did they even think this was going to work? And then, like I said, they book him at Great American Bash of 1995 to beat Arn Anderson for the television championship. Sure. Just fucking disgusting.
Anderson is prone. The Renegade taking flight. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
You know something else, Jez? I always love it when Bobby the Brain Heenan's like, no.
Because he really means it.
He's like, oh God, that was terrible.
He's like, please fire me. Please let me go.
No, he was like, I'm getting a good check. It's cool. Yeah. I don't have to travel.
Everybody
so much.
WCW was. Fuck the art form. Just fucking pay me.
Yeah, that's really what it was all about, bro. I mean, unfortunately. And it's sad because even Warrior was like, they never contacted me, they never got in touch with me. So we don't know what happened there as to why they kept calling it the ultimate, the ultimate appearance, the ultimate.
Well, that was the worst thing too. They led you on, but again, going back to the topic of this episode, to separate this entry versus Renegade's last week entry was
sure, yeah, understood.
It was about the gimmick, but it wasn't. So he was up against the wall. But if this guy was a good wrestler, let's say he had been in the sport for like 6 years and trained in some indies and actually knew how to wrestle, it may not have been that bad. Picked up somewhere else. Because at the beginning, obviously, all the sheep, the fans, the ones that were just like the casuals, they actually cheered him. You heard the crowd when he beat Anderson. People cheered him, but then
you heard it in the promo, Jess. You heard cheers in the promo. Yeah. Like they really thought that was the Warrior.
Well, by then they knew it wasn't the Warrior. God, I hope so, because
they were still cheering.
But they were still cheering because he was a face and he had Hulk Hogan's endorsement and Jimmy Hart was in his corner and all this stuff. And like WCW, I'm sure sweetened the crowd on tape shows, But then after the Great American Bash, I could tell you right now, the crowds, you could start hearing the boos more and more and more, and like people just got wise to it after a while. It was just like, okay, you're not the Warrior. We gave you your 5 minutes to kind of prove yourself. And the guy couldn't even wrestle. If he could wrestle and he did cool shit, I bet it would have been okay, even though it was a blatant Warrior ripoff. But have you ever heard of Demolition? You know what I mean? Like, but they knew how to work those guys. Those guys were two pros.
They did just fine.
Yeah, they did just fine. They were two pros. They were considered Road Warrior ripoffs, but that went away quickly once they started kind of earning their keep and they represented the WWF. Whereas this guy
that's really a great example.
Yeah, he was too green.
Like that all the time,
and some people, just no matter how green they are, because we talked about last week about how he was even appearing on Nitro in like 1998 and stuff like that, in 99. And but he was just never got better. Some people are just not meant to be pro wrestlers, man. They're just not. It sucks to say that, but it's true.
I hate to go back in defense mode on Renegade, but when you're put in that position right away and you're being told you're great, you're awesome, you did a great job, good promo, this and that, you start to believe it. And then eventually when all those people start to disappear on you, you're left with what? Well, I did everything I was supposed to do. I did everything I said I would do, and now nobody wants anything to do with me. And at that point, that's what makes this story so damn sad.
Well, and no offense against him, because he was naive and he had the right to be, because he was green and all that stuff. And again, like you said,
they took advantage of him.
Yeah, they took advantage of him. How many people do you know that are in our life that are not even casual wrestling fans that think they could do it? Think it's easy. You just go and bounce around on this trampoline.
There's one on this podcast every week almost.
Yeah, you just bounce around on it like it's like a big trampoline. You just bounce in there. It's all padded. Like so many people think that they could do it.
I hate to get off tangent on that too, Jeff, but to show your example, did you see Nanny's welt for like almost a month on her arm?
Yeah.
You know what that was from? That's a ring rope welt.
Yeah.
Okay. That she hit the ropes just a little bit off, and she tore her shoulder skin like so bad that it bruised up and flesh
Yeah,
boomed up
those
for
are
like
steel
almost
cables
an
for the
entire
most part,
month.
wrapped up in tape.
Yeah, that's still cables. They're concerned about how they're going to hit the mat. They don't even know how to run the ropes yet. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, nobody gets how hard this is. And
that's not a
what
rip
I get.
against
I know
Natty.
you-
Natty definitely knows what to do, but that just
No,
shows
no,
you
no.
what a
Natty
pro-
knows what
yeah.
she's doing. No, I'm sorry. You're right. I don't want to disparage that.
No, you
Natty
pissed
knows
off the
what
Hart
she's
family.
doing.
They're
But
fucking
even
mad right now.
even a pro like Natty is getting a ring welt like that, and she's being stand up and going, I'm good. I'm going to go tomorrow. I'll be fine. But these guys that think they could do it, they take that ring welt and they'd puss out. I can't. Ooh. I mean, they'd be out for a month. You pussies.
Just
like,
the cardio
get the fuck
you
outta
think you
here.
have. How many in
Oh
great
my
shape
God.
are people on like these, tough enough shows
Yeah.
that you watch and all that, and they're super muscular and they
Sure.
look like $1,000,000 and they run the rope for not even 60 seconds and they're almost vomiting. Like it's
I couldn't do it.
we went to
way.
the wrestling class this one time. Me, Craig, Joe, Nathan, and like I fucking
Yeah.
knocked myself batshit crazy off a bump. I saw everything went like white.
And it was a self bump. You just bumped
I
yourself,
bumped myself.
right?
Like, and it was
Onto
just
the
like,
mat.
and hitting
Yeah.
the ropes. I had a bruises on my back from the top 2 ropes for like a week. Like after that,
Yeah, because that shit
not
hurts.
to mention everything
you
else.
know?
Like, just taking the bumps and me being totally out of cardio shape, running the ropes for like 30 seconds. I was like sucking air. Like my mouth was open, like just trying to catch my breath. I couldn't close my mouth to save my life. Like, I had to keep it open to get air in my lungs. Like it was nuts. It was nuts. But anyway, enough picking on the Renegade. But yeah, that's unfortunately he's going to be entered twice because he really was a terrible wrestler. And you hear the topic worst wrestlers and people want us to hate the person, but that's not the case with this topic. Renegade was really a bad wrestler, and I hate to say it, he really was. He just never got it.
But in my opinion, probably 80% not his fault.
I'll agree with
He
that.
could have been that kind of guy that said, "Oh wow, nobody's picking me up. I wonder why."
Right.
And then where do I go from here? And someone says, "Well, you need to get back into training. You need to figure this shit out. You need to do real mat work." And he could have done that, but quite frankly, he didn't. And he instead took a bad way out, and nobody wants to see that. And unfortunately, he committed suicide. A few years after.
Oh, why do you got to bring the room
And
down?
I know, I'm with you. But
I already
that's the thing,
cried
is, like,
during the Owen episode. What do you want from me?
well, you're not going to cry here. You don't have that much expense on the Renegade.
I
but
do,
it's
as a
okay.
matter of fact.
All I'm saying is it's not entirely his fault that he's a bad wrestler, but nonetheless, he's one of the worst wrestlers out there. And he had a huge gimmick that was overhyped, so he does overlap. Moving on, we have Jorge Gonzalez or Giant Gonzalez.
That's racist. Go on.
Well, what do you want me to call him? George with a J?
Yes.
Like that's what the fucking is in Wikipedia.
Like the
Jesus.
Caucasians should do. We should never try to overpronounce anything because if we do, then it comes out racist or wrong. Either way.
Yeah, well, I just don't believe that. If I mispronounce it, it's like mispronouncing my name. You can
Just call it
Guterfield.
George and then let everyone laugh at you. They're like, oh, white person. And then you just go, I know, I can't say anything.
Yeah. Where they go, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, Giant Gonzalez.
Oh, this guy.
Actually, we've talked about Giant before. He's from Argentina, or I'm gonna do it, Jess, Argentina. Just to really piss you off.
really
He
bad.
also suffered from gigantism, as in the Andre the Giant.
And this guy was
also
like
suffered from
legitly like
something.
7'7". Like Andre was like 7'2". Big Show's like what, 7 feet, 7'1", something like that. I mean, Andre
yes.
might have been exaggerated. I think Andre was only like 7 foot or something, which is still fucking tall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the true height according to his
or
basketball
7 foot.
measurements were 7
They would
foot
call him
se-
7
foot
foot
7.
Yeah, yeah.
7'7" is where they call him. He might have gone down a little bit because quite frankly his body was starting to hunch over from some time. But I mean, you can look at pictures of Giant Gonzalez in the Undertaker, and I think you got some stuff to talk about this, Jess, at WrestleMania 9, and he's a full head above the Undertaker's head, and Undertaker's what, 6'10"?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Undertaker's a tall son of a bitch.
No, he
I mean,
was impressive. First of all, he got his professional wrestling start in like the worst company of WCW because especially back here in like 1991, they had no fucking idea. Well, 1990 actually he debuted, excuse me. And they had no fucking clue what to do in like 90, 91. They had no idea. And arguably they never did. But anyway, I digress.
I mean, well, here's the thing, Jess. I mean, think about it like this: if he wasn't drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, he would have never been seen on the Atlantic Network,
right, on
That is Ted
TBS yeah,
Turner.
or TNT or whatever, TBS, yeah.
And I feel like this is like a Ted Turner, like, if I had my one pick, I got to go with this guy. I got to go with Gonzalez.
I'm going to put the
He's
channel,
gonna-
the family,
he's
the
gonna be
kids, the
great.
mortgage
I'm
on
putting the sta-
Elegante.
I'm putting
Georgie.
the stamp on him, bro. Like Ted Turner had any fucking clue about what to do with
Well,
wrestling.
not even that. Even what
You
they
know,
got in WCW was such a fucking shambles at that time. Like you put him in there, and Jim
Sure.
goddamn Hurd was on there, and I'm sure Jim Hurd's first fucking. Have I called him a dumb fuck yet, Jim Hurd, or piece of shit? Well, I'll do that right now. He gets in there, and I'm sure his first thing was like, call him Spartacus, because that's his fucking genius like idea for everybody.
Oh my
put him,
God, it's
he's a
never going
ding
away.
dong. Let him ring a fucking bell. He's got a hump on his back. You can't pin him.
Oh,
Fucking
the ding
dumb
dongs
shit.
in our archives, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, if
Jim
you want to look
Hurd is
into that,
forever in my archive, in my asshole.
was that overhyped? Volume 1, the ding dongs.
Volume 2,
I believe so.
I want to say.
Look in Volume 1, Volume 2. You'll enjoy them all, ladies and gentlemen, because we don't know what the fuck we're doing here.
No,
That's okay.
not at all. I don't even know what day it is right now. But I do know that Elegante was a big pile of shit, and not as a person, but just as a professional wrestler. What we're talking about, professional wrestling.
He's a big teddy bear,
so he
bro.
got put in there
Come
or
on.
whatever, and of course, like he couldn't fucking speak English, because why would you be able to? And if he did, it was severely broken English. And again, WCW had no, Vince was the expert on making stars and covering up weaknesses. He just was, especially in this era. He was like Mr. Cartoon Guy, and like what would he be able to do with a 7'7" guy? Well, you'll figure out what he did later. But first, he stopped the WCW.
The trouble is, Jess, is you have more shit than cover here.
Oh yeah, and so they get him in there or whatever, and like I don't even know what WCW did to train the wrestlers. They didn't back in the day, because back here there was no developmental areas way back here in the early 90s or late 80s or anything like
And
that.
the territories were all
you
but
just
gone.
started out becoming a pro wrestler. You slept in your fucking car. You went to wrestling school. You learned how to bump. You did that shit for like 6 months to a year, just on the basics. Then you start wrestling on shit independent promotions for $10 a night, if you're lucky. And then you start going up, and then you just start making connections in the industry. And then you start being maybe a prelim for WWF or WCW, or back in the late 80s, like UWF or something like that, or AWA. And you started making your way. But here, like everything was kind of done. Like AWA was done. Like UWF was gone. Like it was just WWF and WCW for the most part here. There were some small indies and stuff. But other than that, it was like, what are they going to do with a 7'7" guy? Like what would WCW just... Hey Rick, how you doing, Rick? Before you get to the arena, can you spend like 10 minutes with El Gigante before we open the doors? Thank you. Just have bounce off the ropes. I mean, that's really all they could have been doing with him, and it fucking showed. It showed. Like he was awful on the mic, especially. Just take a listen.
Fans in Texas and Florida, where he'll be wrestling soon. El Gigante.
Es cierto, quiero decir hola a todos los de estado de Texas y Florida. Necesito el soporte de todos.
I understood
ustedes para
Texas.
Mi carrera. Necesito tenerlos a todos en todo el país. Donde quiera que haya un latino, quiero que esté conmigo. Necesito el soporte de todos ustedes. Y mientras tanto, gracias. Gracias por todo. Vamos, estado de Florida y Texas.
What would help if they would have had a fucking translator, but they didn't? So, I don't need to explain further about how his promos went. I know for a while, Gary Michael Capetta, the WCW ring announcer, actually spoke Spanish and would translate like for him when he would do live interviews. But that was about it, folks.
Here's an idea. How about a fucking valet? Good God.
That too, a manager. Yeah. No, Dave.
Something.
No, we're not
that
gonna
just
do
sounds
that.
That would just make too much
Yeah,
fucking
I'm
sense.
gonna tell you right now, we're not gonna fucking do that. We don't have the budget for it, but we do.
Yeah. Well, WWF did.
Well, and then let's talk about that. So he fucking flops in WCW. So of course Vince is like, WCW sucks. I know how to market giants. So he gets...
I can make it
Yeah,
work.
of course he gets him over there. He brings in El Gigante, and he debuts at the 1993 Royal Rumble, eliminating The Undertaker and beating the shit out of The Undertaker and setting up their feud. And he gets right into a fucking WrestleMania match. His first match is against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 9, which is...
This poor son of a bitch.
And then
Good
the
God.
bodysuit. So Vince's big idea, when WCW, he just wore like regular spandex and like fucking like a spandex tank top, and that was it. Nothing flashy. But in here, Vince puts him in a fucking Sasquatch suit. And by Sasquatch suit, I mean like it's a flesh-colored suit with like muscles and shit spray painted on it, with hair like on the shoulders and forearms and covering his dick and like all this stuff. Like, and it's ridiculous. It's goddamn ridiculous. So here,
It's very
the
Adam and
great
Eve.
genius, the great promoter's like, WCW, you're so amateur. Give me, I'll show you how to make a giant. And he does this shit. He brings him in like the fucking Sasquatch, but he does put him with Harvey Wimpleman, which was his mouthpiece beast, and it didn't matter. The only cool thing is when he would do promos with Harvey Wimpleman legitimately came up to this motherfucker's belly button. I'm not even kidding. That's how big Giant Gonzalez was. So that was like
it was a great visual in the promo.
But that's where it fucking ended, like right there. You know, Andre could work well. Big Show can work, right? Like, you know, you still got to have talent, but he was a horrible professional wrestler. Jorge, Georgina, Elegante. Elegantont.
Now you are definitely
Giant Gonzalez, not so Giant Gonzalez, whatever you want to call him. He was awful. And here's another clip of him beating fucking Virgil right before WrestleMania 9. And he would do a choke slam and he wouldn't lift the guy up past his waist.
This is over. Virgil never stood a chance.
Boy, that's a statement.
Oh, I do.
The Giant Gonzalez!
I definitely do. Come on, Rev, this one's over. Do something.
You know,
Even Monsoon is like, come on, Ref, do something. Like, he's like, what are we supposed to do with this?
All I have to say to that is 2 words. Poor Virgil. God.
Yeah.
Never gonna break,
I mean,
bro.
what else was Virgil gonna fucking do?
I hate to say it, though. Virgil might be on the next episode of Worst Wrestlers.
Well, now, I don't know, because, like, there's so many more that are worse than him, to be honest. Like,
and he wasn't really a wrestler. He was a valet for, like,
and he was able to at least
career.
be carried. Maybe he would, but, like, maybe he could at least be carried to good matches. His match with Ted DiBiase at Mania 7 was not bad. His rematch with Ted DiBiase at SummerSlam that year was also not bad either. So, I mean, like, DiBiase, he could be carried. He was carryable.
Sure.
And Giant Gonzalez was not carryable, not because of that motherfucker's size. I'm talking figuratively. He was not carryable in a match. And they tried in WCW. They tried in WWF. The WrestleMania 9 match, Vince was just playing off the sight of someone actually being, like, 2 full feet or whatever taller than the Undertaker, and the visual.
It was a full head.
Yeah, but then once the match started, it was fucking terrible. And to Giant Gonzalez's credit, he knew he was a big motherfucker, and he could probably hurt you if he wanted to. He really took it easy, but he took it so easy that his moves look so bad and so fake that you're like, this big guy should be fucking people up. But, like, he would never lift anyone over his head. Can you imagine him pressing someone over his 7-foot head? That would be another photo opportunity for a magazine or whatever. But he never even did that. Like I said, when he even did choke slams.
I don't think he could, bro.
Maybe not. You're right, because he was super skinny. You know what I mean? He wasn't, like, muscular. Yeah. He didn't have, like, a muscular frame at all. He was just all height, pretty much.
Yeah.
He wasn't like Manu Bull, but even he was like, he was close.
And believe it or not, he actually had a few stints in New Japan. Like, I guess they'll try anything back in those
afterwards.
Days.
Oh yeah, he
actually lost to the Great
only thing he had
in '95.
What, in '95?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, God, they tried him, but he was just such a bad pro wrestler. And no matter where he went, I don't know if he could, I don't think he ever caught on. Like, even after the big promotions, he went to New Japan, and he had giantism as well. So his health deteriorated quickly. And I believe he died from kidney failure or something like that, or kidney problems.
Heart issues.
I meant heart. Did I say, I meant heart?
Kidney failure.
Is that not what I said? I thought I said heart issues.
Well, no, you said kidney failure, but diabetes.
This sounds the same, like kidney failure, heart,
failure.
Kidney, heart, whatever. Fuck you, Dave. You know what? Why, Mr. fucking El Gigante fan? Fine, I won't insult the dead anymore. Yeah. And by the way, he's the second dead guy that's on the list, and I chose this list. Oh shit.
Yeah, because you know why? Because you're an asshole.
Okay.
That's the truth. Well, speaking of people that are dead, we're going to talk about someone who's definitely dead to us, but he's not dead in real life.
Thank God.
This motherfucker. Oh my God. I can't believe we're talking about him, but I guess it is the topic of the day. We're going to talk about Steve Douglas, a.k.a. Mongo McMichael.
Dave, he's the crown jewel, but you know what? Let me tell you something. Let me just tell you something.
What a sack of shit. Tell me. Just tell me.
But he's a sack of shit in, like, every glorious sense of that phrase. Like, he was around during the WCW boom period from like 96 to 99, I think is pretty much when he left. And I'm telling you right now,
timing's everything.
Timing's everything, but like, he was always a fucking terrible pro wrestler. He never made an effort to get better. He botched all of the time. And on top of that, his goddamn finishing move was the fucking tombstone pile driver. A professional Owen Hart dropped Steve Austin on his head. Steve Austin, years earlier, dropped Masahiro Chono on his head doing the same move. A slightly different variation, but they're professionals. This motherfucker is far from a professional in that ring. Another guy who was brought in, he won the Super Bowl ring. He played with multiple football teams, but his most notable stint was the 86 Bears. They won the Super Bowl. And so he was a Super Bowl champion, and he was known as being a bear and all that stuff. So he was, he's legitly a football Hall of Famer, Steve McMichaels.
Yeah, he was a defensive tackle, in case you were wondering.
He's legitly a football Hall of Famer. The man was meaner than shit on the field. But he did, I will say, he started off commentating for Nitro when Nitro debuted in 95. And it was, I know like experts ripped on him because he didn't know anything about wrestling. He didn't know holds and all that stuff. But I thought he had a good personality. And he's, I'm Mongo, baby. Like he was just, he was cool. I don't know. I didn't mind his persona. I actually liked him. I was like, okay, he's different. He's like kind of brass. He's in your face. Like, like he was just, he always had a little fucking chihuahua in his hands. I don't know why. I don't even know if the chihuahua was alive. I think it died like years ago and it petrified itself because there's really not a lot of meat on chihuahuas. They're just fucking tiny. So if they rotted, like you'd smell it for a second and be like, maybe I farted. And then you would just be whatever. And you would keep trying to feed it and act like it was normal. So he always.
Before you guys get mad at Jess about that comment, he has small dogs.
I love my dogs. Yeah. David, what are you saying now?
But he's going to do the same thing as Mongo. He's going to keep him in their lap after he dies.
They have not moved in weeks. I'll be honest right now. Now that I think about it, I'm going to go check on them when we're done with this. But anyway, so, I mean, we have kids, so like they take priority. So dogs are second. Unfortunately, cats are third. So it's just the way it ranks in my house. And I'm dead last, way below everything else. So Mongo like was brought in that way. He had no wrestling experience. This motherfucker gets put in a featured tag team match, the semi-main event of Great American Bash 1996. Mongo McMichael and Kevin Green took on Ric fucking Flair and Arn Anderson. And Mongo turned against Kevin Green at the end of that match and became a motherfucking four horseman. Yes.
Now, yes. I wanted to dig into this, Jess. Would you say that without a doubt,
that was bullshit? Yes, I would say that. Yes.
No. That's one. But two, this is the worst horseman ever.
Kind of. In an odd way, yes. But like, it was Rick, Arn, Benoit, and Mongo. I don't know. Like, I'm so conflicted because like everything I said in the beginning of all that was like, oh, awesome. And then at the end, I was
it's
like,
great.
Mongo. But who, they had Sid for a while. They had, people who Sid didn't fit. I'm not saying Sid was as bad as Mongo, but like Sid didn't fit. Sting didn't fit, So like, I guess it's to each person's interpretation what a bad version of the Horseman is.
Okay. So quick review. Who's worse, Roma or Mongo?
Wait, who?
Roma.
Paul Roma or McMichaels as a Horseman?
Yeah.
I would say Roma.
God damn, really?
Yeah, he didn't fit at all. Again, like there's something about
you're talking about fit. I'm talking about talent. Sorry.
Well, I mean, obviously Roma was talented, Paul Roma, but I mean at the same time, like listen to Mongo's like he was
Power and Glory, baby.
He was a pretty good talker.
Hope now everybody realizes why I chose to become part of an elite group. It was almost a parallel. In Chicago, being one of the monsters of the Midway, winning the championship there, the pride. Look at the Horsemen. They didn't win championships. They went out and took them. Limousine rides, Lear jets, people lining up by the thousands to get their autographs. That is what I like. That's what I want to be a part of. I'm here to talk to you.
Not bad, right? I mean, that was a pre-taped interview.
It's very calm. It's collected.
He was actually fine even in live interviews. Mongo wasn't terrible on the mic. He truly wasn't. I know that's hard for people to like fathom, but he wasn't.
No, I agree. Mongo was never an issue on the microphone. I never really thought that. I mean, as I like and I dislike quoted in the podcast, but as Bruce Pritchard would always say, that bell eventually had to fucking ring, bro.
Yes. Oh, so bad. And like it was really brutal. God. It was really brutal. And on top of that, like they gave him go back and watch for I think it was like Road Wild 1999. He fought Brian Adams, who used to be Crush. And you know my feelings on Brian Adams in ring work. Again, God, I'm always picking on dead people. But like, yeah, it was not good. It was not good this match, and it was so bad.
But he was so much better than Mongo.
I remember watching Nitro when Nitro was hot as shit in like 97, 98, and Mongo would have a singles match, a random singles match, the place would go fucking nuts for him, Dave. Let me play this for you right here. This is, you're going to be offended on so many different levels right now, and I love it. He is beating Eddie Guerrero here on an episode of Nitro. Listen.
Come on, Anderson. The newest horseman name, and then a tombstone driver. 1, 2, see ya. Good night, Mr. Guerrero. It's very my time. It was the wrong man on the wrong day to pick on a horseman. Listen up, all you wrestlers. Our horsemen are back. And it ain't gonna be easy no more.
Okay, that was a shitty promo. But anyway.
Well, he just pinned somebody. You can't put a mic in someone's face right after
He
they
fucking
blow
beat
up in the
Eddie
ring.
Guerrero, and it's before he was the Eddie Guerrero, you know. But still,
I was gonna
but
say
still.
there's a couple of things that you have to understand there, Jess. One, he's not the Eddie Guerrero that everybody knows at that time.
Correct.
I mean, come on, let's be
Correct.
real about that. But also, it just proves, goddamn, WCW had no idea what they had. They're just fucking pushing the
with,
wrong
Eddie?
guys. They had no fucking
Are
clue.
you talking about Mongo? You're right about Mongo. They didn't know what they had. A really shitty wrestler.
They didn't know what they had because they thought Mongo was going places.
That's
and
what I
they thought
mean.
Guerrero was just a mirror card that could be pinned by Mongo.
He was so mad, and he gave but my funny thing is I just can't stop thinking about that. He had the tombstone pile driver, and like that's
that's
dangerous
dangerous as
move.
fuck, bro.
Nobody said, "Hey, why don't you just do the power slam, or why don't you do the finger in the ass, or why don't you do like anything else like you could possibly do but that's safer, like anything, or a fucking." Like a claw hold for a submission. I don't know, Dave. Like, but a fucking tombstone pile driver? Like, just what they're handing that shit out like candy in WCW. Like, in the back, they're just like, well, what's Mongo's finisher going to be? I got an idea, baby. Undertaker does a tombstone, baby. Like, it's like, okay. No, again, no one in WCW is like, can I say something? Like the one guy to raise his hand in the sea of wrestlers. This isn't going to be a good idea. Shut up, Jeff. Just get us our fucking coffee. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to suggest something. Like, that's literally what had to have happened. Like, you can't tell me.
I mean,
that even wrestlers that are big on each other's safety, like, didn't step in and be like, wait, you're giving that guy a fucking tombstone? Like, really?
Not in WCW. They didn't care about safety. Let's be honest.
I know,
They hurt a lot
I
of
know.
people, but let me ask this question, Jess, just to play devil's advocate. Did he ever hurt anybody with that move?
No, Dave, that's the fucking crazy thing. I don't know what world
It's
we're living
crazy.
in right now. No, he didn't. He did not. He never hurt anybody.
Where Owen Hart almost broke Steve Austin.
That's what I was saying.
But he hurt him pretty bad.
And to my
One of the
knowledge,
greatest wrestlers on the
Mongo
planet,
never hurt
and
anybody in the ring.
Mongo never hurt anyone.
Yeah,
right?
like it's fucking nuts. And he was a god awful professional wrestler, which is usually like danger. But I mean, it also maybe shows you all the talent that was in WCW's locker room at the time. You had he was a horseman. So he was around Flair, Anderson, Benoit, Jarrett at times, Malenko. Like, he wrestled people like Guerrero and Jericho and all this shit. And it's like, God damn it. Like, he was around, but then he got put in there against people like Virgil and Bryan Adams, which is a recipe for disaster. And it never happened. I mean, they botched everywhere and all their matches
It's
were
a miracle
god-awful.
nobody died.
And apparently Mongo could not whip people to the ropes. He just had a fucking god-awful time whipping people to the ropes and communicating. Like, every botch was like him whipping someone to the ropes and just going, and like just running into the person, like legitly running into them. Like, you know, when you do on video games and you're playing a wrestling video game and you run into the opponent and you both just kind of jerk back. That was Mongo's botches all day long. It was great. It was awesome. But like
That's probably where they created it from. When you ran into somebody unexpectedly, it was a Mongo botch.
That should have been his
just
finisher.
do the Mongo botch on the video game.
That should have been his finisher, not the goddamn tombstone pile driver.
They should have called it the Mongo botch.
It'd still be used today.
At the end of the day, you just be like, that's what Mongo's famous for. All the rope botches on video games. That's the Mongo botch.
Since like they're handing out like old finishers like candy in today's wrestling, the stunner, the fucking sharpshooter,
Let's not talk about that.
all
He
that.
can't, I love KO, bro, but he can't even land that move right. But
Nobody
on.
can like don't do any finishers, Dave. Any finishers that remind me of someone else other than you is bad. I don't know why you would even do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And Ric Flair's daughter, that's fine. That makes sense because it's Ric Flair's daughter. She can do that.
I'll be honest with you, man. Like that inverted like suplex he would do off the second to top rope on
Who?
people. Kevin
Mongo?
Owens. Why couldn't that be that'd be a phenomenal fucking finisher? That thing was sick.
No, it's
He
original.
doesn't do it anymore, but yeah, that's what I'm
No,
saying. Like,
Dave,
it would have been
you're fucking
been
nuts.
great.
What was
And
his
no one
finisher?
else does it. You know
What was his finisher before the center? I'm being dead serious.
I can't even remember.
I don't know. I don't think he had one. I think he just got beat by everybody. That was his finisher, pretty much before that.
Oh no! Oh no! No, yeah. Oh, that's too
Yeah,
bad.
that's the truth, though. It sucks.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about Mongo like Candy?
No, he's my favorite bad wrestler. Like, he's an awful professional wrestler, but like, he had a good character. He had natural charisma about him. He just did. Like, I'm not saying he was great or better or anything like that. I can't even rank him as far as like on the mic or whatever. He was just chaos. It was just, I'm Mongo. I'm a horseman, babe. I'm coming to get you. Like, it was just great, but it was good. Like, I don't know. I can't describe it. And if you go back and watch some of these Nitros from 97, 98, the place would go fucking nuts for him. It was weird. It was really weird. Like, I guess it just goes to show that when product's hot and the industry's up and like you have a character, like people will just
and you're part of the Horsemen.
Yeah, they'll forget that you fucking botched that hip toss for the 9th time in the same match. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I'm so ashamed, bro. It was the pop-up powerbomb. That was his fun finisher before. He still used
it. Was. I'm ashamed that I didn't remember that too.
Yeah, I'm ashamed of myself. I'm gonna go kill myself later.
Yeah, you're like the big KO fan too, so you're a big piece of shit, Dave. I'm gonna be honest with you right now. I'm embarrassed.
I mean, I'm a big fan, but I think they're. Oh god, that's
just calm down. We're not talking about current I mean, it's not a dark match. Is my point right now.
Yeah, we gotta stay on topic.
This is worst wrestling.
Well, shit. I mean, with Mongo, at the end of the day, that just shows proof that you could still love somebody and still realize they're one of the worst wrestlers on the planet. It's just so bad. And like you said, it goes to the product. Like, timing's everything. He comes in when everything's hot over there. He comes in, with the Horsemen. And like you said, 3 wrestlers that were probably some of the best ever on the planet that you can just shield him, quite frankly. Benoit, Anderson, and Flair. And he's really, at that point, Mongo's just the enforcer. Where usually Arn Anderson was an enforcer, but just one of the most talented enforcers.
It seems like that's what they were going for. They were having, because Anderson was retired from the ring at this time, pretty much. Shortly after Mongo joined, he retired in like late '96. Anderson did. So yeah, Mongo kind of did, I guess. Obviously not the same talent level or even close to it that Arn was, but he kind of became like the enforcer role. I guess that's good to say.
Can we just say too, if we ever do another underrated wrestler, underrated moments, we got to get Arn Anderson in there somewhere.
I don't know if he is underrated though. Underrated. I don't know. I think everyone loves him.
Anybody who didn't see WCW in its prime with him, Arn Anderson's underrated. They don't even know the guy.
That's true.
I'm just saying, just something to throw out there. We just know Arn Anderson for scissor fights in hotels.
Yep.
Out of country.
In the archives, it's good shit.
He's so much more than that. God damn. He's so much more than that. So, but instead we're sitting here talking about fucking Mongo McMichaels.
Yeah.
It's a sad day.
He's a horseman, Dave.
Podcast
and
world.
He beat Eddie Guerrero with the
but
tombstone.
He was a horseman that beat Guerrero. He can't take that away.
He might very well be so bad he loops around, and he's one of the greatest wrestlers to ever live. Mongo.
Let me just scroll down here real quick.
Don't do that.
Did he?
He was married to Deborah McMichaels. I forgot about that too.
He was. Whenever they're trying to push somebody, what title do they throw on him, Jess?
Who?
In WCW.
Oh, like the U.S.
Anybody?
Yeah. He was U.S. champ.
Yeah.
He was U.S. champion. That's right. He was U.S. champion.
Yeah.
God damn it.
That's it. Oh, and this will give you some solace because you were talking about his announce work. The Wrestling Observer in '96 gave him the title of worst television announcer.
I disagree. You know what? You're not going to get a fucking. They're not all gems. Can I be honest?
That's true. And you know what? I
don't disagree with them, but like, come on, like, don't pick on Mongo. Like, come on, he's just clueless. Just a big old dumb Mongo.
You said he was bigger than life, and he had that character, and that's kind of what you want with that color announcer. I don't know. There's worse wrestlers there's worse announcers than '96 than Mongo Mike. Sure. I'm sure you can find them. I'm telling you, I hate to go off on Meltzer sometimes, man, but he just finds something that gets a craw in him, and he just goes off on it.
I mean, he was bad in that sense, but like, you just fucking let it go at that time. Like, whatever. I thought Macho Man was terrible as a commentator. I hated his voice as a commentator.
Because he's not. He just didn't belong.
Yeah, doing interviews is fine, but then just being like, oh, what a suplex. Yeah. Like, it just, after a while, I'm like, God damn it. Like, do I have to listen to 20 minutes of this shit at a time? Sorry. Ripping on Macho. Well, all of a sudden, I'm ripping on Macho. I don't know what's happening. Mongo
should never say the word gorilla more than once. He's like, well, gorilla, what do you do? You know, like,
Yeah.
macho, stop saying gorilla in your macho voice. It just doesn't work for me.
But well,
You know, that's where you miss Jesse. But hey, you know. Anywho, anything else you want
that
to
is it, Dave. You know
throw
what?
onto
That's
this
it.
topic before?
We'll be back with the part 2, but we wanted to float this out there.
That's right. Yeah, see how it goes. And there's definitely going to be more wrestlers that we could talk about. We're going to fight for some of those ones that are still overrated that should be in this category because they are so terrible. We'll talk about it. But once again, as always, you can reach us via Instagram at O.W.P 2019, SoundCloud at Our Wrestling Podcast, YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel, or do the easy thing, download WrestlePost app at no charge to you and join us along with other great podcasts of the day. This is Dave along with Jess at the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one.